Hey y'all, happy 4th of July. It's been a minute, I know, since I've talked to you, and I've got a rare afternoon off. I worked this morning doing stock at Vera, and I've got the afternoon off because I was supposed to work at Soma today, but I've got some sick puppies, so had somebody kind of cover my shift for me so I could be here, having to clean up after them every couple hours, take them out every couple hours. They're okay, but just upset tummies. So sorry the camera's shaking a little bit, but I figured since I have my rare afternoon where I'm at home that I would take you around, give you an update on everything. We've been harvesting some tomatoes. I've harvested some of the herbs, fed them to the chickens. Right now I'm not cooking a lot, so I'm not using the herbs for myself, but they're there when I do want them, which is great. I'm going to show you the potted plants. I'm going to show you the upper garden. Might take you down to the lower garden as well, and I want to show you our blueberries. So as you know, right outside the front door, we've got the pots. This is my spinach, which it's not doing the fantastic. It's not doing the best. It's not as big as I had hoped it would be by now, but at least it hasn't bolted yet. Sometimes in this heat, and it's been in the 90s this week at least, sometimes in the heat it'll bolt. My onion is doing fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. And then the tomatoes, these are some of the starts that I did. As I told you earlier, no idea what they are. I do need to get them out of these pots and into bigger pots so that they can grow bigger, and then I will probably transplant them into the ground in another couple of weeks and just have a second harvest for my tomatoes. And then all of these wound up being radishes, and some of them bolted, some of them didn't do anything. I'll probably wind up pulling all of that up, put all the dirt into a bucket for something else. And the ones that did go to seed, I am going to harvest those seeds so that I can plant more, because these did really well. There's another couple of tomatoes, and some more lettuce. As you can see, the trays are completely empty of the okra. I did plant that out a couple of weeks ago. This one, there's a tomato plant in here, but I put a damaged branch of my pothos in there. I don't think it's going to do anything, but it might root. I don't know. We'll see. We've had rain almost every single day. Of course, I do need to put it in the soil if it's going to root. Sometimes I will do this. Certain plants, you don't really actually have to root them, and they'll do fine. Some of them, you actually have to root them in a cup of water or some rooting compound or something like that. Sometimes pothos just really wants to grow, so you can do it just like that and it'll take off and do fine. And then I swing right over here and you guys can see all the seed pods from the radishes that bolted that I let go to seed. And I need to just come out here and get all these seed pods before the chipmunks and the squirrels get them, and the birds, because we've got plenty of those around. And then, of course, these pots have the catnip. This catnip has gone to seed. And a lot of times I'll let the catnip go to seed and just let it reseed itself. It comes back every single year. It dies back in the winter. Sometimes it doesn't die all the way back if it's a really mild winter, but it usually dies most of the way back. And then I let it just reseed itself. And then, you know, more catnip. This one needs to be watered. It looks really, really bad, even though we had rain yesterday. Sometimes when they're in these shallow pots like this, they don't do great. Sometimes when they're in these shallow pots like this, they don't do great when the plants get bigger. So I need to come through here and cut it back since it's bolted. Go ahead and just cut it back. And I need to pull this weed. And then this one is... that's another catnip. I can just pick it up and smell it and tell what it is. I know the smell of catnip at this point, so that's fairly easy. And then this pot, I believe, is pretty much just all weeds. And then I've got a little strawberry over there. Haven't gotten any strawberries off of it, but it's actually doing fairly well up here, so I'm going to leave it up here in the pot for now and see if maybe next year we might get strawberries off of it. These are actually 2-year-old strawberry plants, but I haven't gotten any strawberries off of my strawberry plants yet, so we shall see what happens with that. I need to look and see, figure out. I don't know what that one is, but I have a plant ID app that I can look up. I know that one's probably catnip or mint. It's probably catnip. Like I said, the catnip reseeds itself and it reseeds everywhere. But this one is not catnip. It doesn't even smell like catnip, so I'm not sure what it is. But I'll just open up my plant ID app and figure out what that is at some point. Again, just talking about the pothos. The pothos is doing well. It does have some bug damage though. So I need to find my neem oil and spray this. I'm not sure. It's probably the slugs. They're eating everything else. I did have a slug trap out and caught some, but not, not much. So then my tiny little potted herb garden. So my chamomile died pretty much back. I don't think that's going to come back. I'm going to leave it and see what it does, but it pretty much died back. Rosemary's doing fantastic. Oregano. There's 2 types of oregano in there, and then the basil is jamming. Can't wait till that starts getting even bigger and doing even better. I love basil in just about everything. I like it dried. I like it. I'm actually planning on making basil tea this year, trying that out. I have a couple of recipes for basil tea that I'm gonna want to try, and I have a couple of different varieties that I want to try. This is Todd's butterfly bush that he's had in here for years and years and years. It's a fantastic pollinator, or it attracts pollinators. It's beautiful. These little tiny blooms they're just absolutely gorgeous. It's so pretty to look at. And then you see all the little bees and the butterflies and everything else that come out to sample it. So the flowers are doing okay. Not great, but okay. I need to come in through here with a little bit more fertilizer. Fertilize them again. Another basil. That's a cucumber right there. That is the one lone cucumber from this area that survived. There is a split. I don't know if you can see that. That is an avocado pit, I believe, that split. I don't think it's done anything though, and I don't think it will. But I'm going to leave it, see if it does anything. And if it does, I'll probably pull it up and put it in a pot so that I can move all my avocados that do grow. I can move them in the winter and take care of them. My marigolds have not done great. Now, granted, I didn't amend any of this soil before I put stuff in. So a lot of stuff is struggling to do anything. Some of it's doing okay. Some of it's not doing great at all. This tomato plant has been in, can you see it? This tomato plant has been in for months now. It is a beefsteak tomato, and that's all it's done so far. It has not done a daggum darn thing. So again, I might get some, I've got some granulated fertilizer that you add to water and get it, just spray it on everything. I might do that and see if I can't get that one to do a little bit better. But this is another cucumber that's doing fairly well. It's actually got a blossom on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a couple of blossoms on it, so hopefully we'll have some cucumbers here before too long. And then this is one of the succulents that I killed. As I think I've told you guys in the past, I am really good at killing succulents. Succulents are probably one of the things that most people can grow even if they have a black thumb, but apparently not me. But I did have a little part of it come back, so I'm happy about that. These are my banana peppers. Ignore the weeds. I'm covered up with weeds, and I'm hoping at some point in the next week or two to go out and get some mulch to mulch around all these plants and suppress a lot of these weeds. The weeds will grow up through the mulch, but if I can suppress a lot of them, at least for the time being, rather than having to come out and pull every single one of them. I can pull several of them, but honestly, I let this kind of get away from me, and it'll probably take too long to try to weed all of this successfully. Sorry that the camera's moving around a bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, so that's banana peppers are doing pretty well. I wish the plants were a little bit bigger, but I've already gotten a couple of little pieces of fruit off of them. There's another one right over here. It's actually got a couple. I like them when they're this small. As you can see, they're pretty small still. I like them when they're this small. I like to snack on them, but I might let those get a little bit bigger because there is more coming in, especially on that plant that will do well. This is another tomato that's been in for a little while, and these are the first blossoms that it's set. So again, not sure if I just need fertilizer or what's going on with that. Something's been nibbling on this basil. Not that big of a deal. I've got more. I do have tomatoes on this plant. This is one of my, I believe one of my cherries, which is why they're kind of in clusters. So excited to be getting those soon once they ripen. Right behind, I don't know if you can see that big yellow blossom back there. Right behind this is a zucchini. And so I've got several zucchini blossoms, and I believe those are all male blossoms. So hopefully we'll be getting some female blossoms soon and get some zucchini off of those. And then again, my marigolds have just done terrible this year, and I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure what's going on with them. There is a spearmint that was in the garden. I went ahead and dug it up, just left it in the same place that it was growing, but went ahead and dug it up because otherwise it would just take over this whole area. This is my experimental tomato. This is it is a cherry sprinkles, chocolate sprinkles cherry tomato. I have actually already been snacking off of this plant quite a bit. And look at all these tomatoes on it, guys. This is awesome. I love it. Todd came out here this morning and picked some more. Some of them are splitting because we've had so much rain. That's what the splitting is from, is all the rain. But as you can see too, in the garden, throughout the garden, I have coffee grounds and I have eggshells sprinkled throughout the garden. The coffee grounds supposedly help with mosquito control, which I'm not getting eaten up today when it's very muggy. And the eggshells, of course, just add nutrients back into the soil. Honestly, the eggshells probably won't add nutrients for this year's plants, but should help improve the soil for next year. So we'll see how that goes as well. There's another rosemary. I need to weed around it again. There's my purple basil, which, as you can see, some of the bottom leaves, because it's not getting quite enough nutrition, some of the bottom leaves are green, so it's not developing enough of the tannins that it needs to stay purple. And then I've got another little one here as well. I need to pull these weeds out away from it. Funnily enough, a lot of these weeds that are around these are just around the edge of the garden. They're on the outside where I have the rocks. So, yeah. And then this was a cilantro, which I killed. Again, I'm having a heck of a time this year, guys, with cilantro. I don't know what's going on with my cilantro. For the last year, maybe year and a half, I've had the heck of a time growing cilantro. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm buying it already started. I'm trying to start it from seed. It's just not doing well. It's dying. It'll come up and then it dies, and then it comes up and then it dies. I buy it, and within days after I've bought it, it's dead. So I'm not sure. Need to do a little bit more research on that. I know it's a little warm for cilantro here in Georgia this time of year, but I would really like some cilantro for when my tomatoes are coming in, so I can make some fresh salsa. I mean, who doesn't love fresh salsa, right? All right, I'm going to flip you guys back around again so you can see the blue here in front of the house. And I have to step carefully because I'm wearing flip-flops, which I definitely don't recommend. Definitely don't recommend. I'll see if I can edit that out. But yeah, we've got Todd planted these blueberries when he moved in. And he's been picking blueberries for the last couple of weeks. And y'all, look at those. They're not huge. this year. Some years they're huge. Most years they're about this size. But man, look at that gorgeous dark blue blueberry. So he's already been picking. He's had his parents up here picking. We've had our neighbors come over picking. We've already been picking, and I'm sure, guys, that the wildlife have been helping. We have tons of birds in this neighborhood, especially around our yard. As you guys know, we live on a cove on Lake Lanier, and we have tons of wildlife, tons of birds. You know, all the things, they all come up, and we even have deer. I don't know that the deer really bother with the blueberries, but they do come up for the other plants as well. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Some mornings you can sit out back or sit on the back porch, or even just driving into the neighborhood or driving out of the neighborhood. Sometimes we see deer. It's kind of neat. So I am actually going to spend a little bit of time. Just wanted to show you guys. I'll show you a little bit more. So these blueberries go all the way up. There's, at this point, there's I think there's 1, 2, 3. I think there's 4 total blueberry bushes up here on this hill. That are, and like I said, they're loaded. Some of them are ripe. A lot of them aren't. And we're just picking every day. Todd likes to wait until they're that really, really dark purple, because that's when they're the sweetest. I like to pick in the afternoons, because the afternoon, for most fruits, in case you didn't know, the afternoon is when they are the sweetest, because it's the heat of the day. If it's not raining, then they're not taking up water actively, and so their sugars are concentrated because of the heat of the day. And to me, tomatoes, you know, pretty much just anything that's a fruit is just sweeter in the afternoon, if you can wait. Sometimes, you know, our schedules dictate that we come out early in the mornings and harvest, and sometimes we are given a little grace and we can harvest in the afternoons. So that is what I am doing today. I'm going to wash these up. I have a pool party to go to tomorrow with some friends that I network with, and I'm hoping to make a fruit salad. I'll go and get strawberries and all the other things that I don't grow from the store, and add these lovely, lovely blueberries to the mix and take a fruit salad for our pool party. Alright, so I thought that I would give you guys a view from up above. I'm up above all of the blueberry plants. This is the view from up above. You can hear the neighbors, dogs and cats over there arguing. But this is a pretty steep hill, you guys. It's a pretty steep hill. So these blueberry bushes are all, they're 20 years old. So he put in, I believe he put in 6 plants back in 2003 or 2003 or 2004, a couple of years before he met me, 2005 maybe. And he's just, there's, you know, like I said, a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 4 left. But they're doing great. I mean, he really doesn't do much with them. He might come, I don't even think he prunes them, which it's typically recommended that you go in and you prune the dead back in the fall before they set fruit for or set buds for the following spring. But he really doesn't do anything at all. He hasn't amended the soil. So if you've got an area of your property, guys, that, you know, it's a little bit harder to garden like regular garden crops on, you know, think about blueberries, think about raspberries, think about blackberries. Think about things that you, of course, if you like them, if you like those fruits, think about those kind of fruits where, you know, you don't necessarily have to be up there all the time doing stuff to them, except when you're harvesting. You know, you could, on a hillside like this, you could put thornless blackberries, thornless raspberries, you know, that like well-drained soil and don't like for their feet to be wet. You know, things like that. They typically, they're going to thrive in environments like this. All right, and there is my bucket full of blueberries and a tomato. I think I'm actually going to call it quits for this afternoon. It's getting kind of hot. I am still going to take you down to the lower garden, and then I've got to go back in and do a little bit more laundry, and then see if I can go hang out with some friends this afternoon for the 4th of July. So, yeah, so again, like I was saying, this is just a perfect place for the blueberries. And one thing you do have to watch out for with any type of orchard, especially orchards that attract wildlife, like birds, you have to be really, really super careful of snakes. So and he weed-eated all up around here, makes it himself, for me, for our neighbors who've been coming down and picking some of the blueberries, and for his parents and his friends and anybody else that wants to come pick. Usually when they're just full of fruit like that, he'll just tell people, hey, you know, you want to go down and pick blueberries, go ahead. There's no way we can eat them all. So, because, I mean, even just 2 big plants and 2 little plants, even just that is way more than enough for 1 or 2 people. So, he's very generous like that. I'm going to take you guys around here real quick, and I'm actually going to show you the tower garden. I've been neglecting it severely, and it is quite obvious that it's been severely neglected. My rainbow Swiss chard has gotten completely out of hand. My chives have gotten completely out of hand, and everything else died. So now, guys, these are the garlic chives that are absolutely crazy. And then all of the Swiss chard. Look at all that Swiss chard. Look how huge that is. It's as big as my hand, guys. These leaves are as big as my hand. It's just absolutely ridiculous what that's done. And it's just, you know, it's kind of doing it all on its own. That is a tomato growing. Not exactly sure quite how that tomato got all the way up there, but that is a tomato growing. And it smells delicious. I do need to fill the reservoir because it's looking kind of low down there. So I'll do that at some point here. I've had the lid off, so it has been getting rain. But yeah, look at that. So what I really need to do is I really need to come in here. I need to harvest some of the Swiss chard. It will keep growing. It's going to keep growing. Hi, Nala. It's going to keep growing as long as I keep harvesting. And yeah, it's going to keep producing. It will bolt at some point once it gets really, really super hot. But if I can keep it growing at least a little bit longer and actually use it for salads and stuff, that's great. You know, we'll see how that goes. With my crazy schedule, a lot of times I'm not home for meals, so it makes it kind of hard. But let me take you down below real quick. Hold on. We're going to go down to the lower garden and see how that's doing. So we're down below, and there's my lavender. Doing great. And that is a lily. That's doing okay. It's bloomed once. It's died back. It probably won't bloom again. It might bloom again, but probably not. And then over here in the pots in the shade are those teeny tiny weensy little tomatoes. If I ever get a chance to move, what I want to do is I want to move this pot to the upper driveway where it gets more sun, so that those can grow, and I'll transplant maybe 1 or 2 of the other ones that are up there into that pot, those 2 pots, and you know, have that be my second harvest for the year. And again, more catnip, more catnip. I do have lemon balm around here somewhere in one of these pots, but more catnip, more weeds. We really need to get on top of these weeds. I just haven't really had a chance to do that like recently. And then more spinach. And then, guys, these are all my basils. I think this one is holy basil, if I remember correctly. And then this one should be sweet basil, purple basil. I'm not sure if that's a basil or not. It looks like it is. Don't know which, probably just a sweet basil that got mixed in. More purple basil. Not sure which variety. I think that might be more holy basil right here. More holy basil. So, and then chives towards the back that are doing great. So those are doing fantastic. And then let's walk over here. Unfortunately, I did not get around to transplanting my sunflower seedlings, and I think it's probably too late for them to be transplanted. They're not really going to do much for me. I may try still to transplant a few and see what happens, but they don't look great. Potatoes, the leaves on the potatoes are getting eaten by something. I'm not sure what. I don't know what eats potato leaves, but the potatoes are actually doing pretty good. I'll have to hill them up again pretty soon. And then the rest of the garden, of course, ignore the huge tall grass. That needs to be moved as well. Again, it's been raining every day. And while Todd's playing catch up with all of his yards, he doesn't always have time to mow this yard. He tries to keep the front looking pretty clean and neat, but he doesn't always have time to do the back. And so, zucchini. There's a couple of zucchini. There's a couple of cucumbers in there. There's some oregano. That is, I believe that's Greek oregano. There's a tomato plant. That one didn't do great. That one got really big and tall and didn't do great. I'm not sure if this little piece that fell down onto the ground is going to do okay. I think it got too wet. It rained every day straight for like 10 days. And of course this catches a lot of the rain, wash, the runoff and everything. And so I think it just got too wet. It was too wet down here for that. Because my other tomatoes that I have down here aren't doing all that great either. However, the tomatoes that I planted on the other side, and look, oh, I don't know if you can see these little guys hopping around. All these little baby toads, little baby frogs. Because we're so close to the water, and because we have rain catchment barrels, the frogs like to breed in the rain catchment barrels, and so we wind up with all these little baby toadlets just hopping around everywhere, wherever we go. And so, all right, so tomatoes and okra down here are actually doing pretty well. And y'all, at this point, I don't know what's a weed and what's a tomato or what's an okra. I know what the tomatoes are. The tomatoes are right there. That tomato is looking fantastic, looks good. And I do know that that is an okra. And those two are okra. And I don't think those are okra. I think those are stinkweed and need to be pulled up. I did plant more okra over here, which I think actually the okra is right there. Again, something's been munching on the leaves. We'll have to see if we can't get some neem oil and figure that out. But there are two tomatoes here and they're doing fantastic. These are probably bush variety tomatoes. They're probably cherry tomatoes, but they look really good. The cannas are doing fantastic. They're absolutely beautiful. They are not at their peak right now. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Focus, focus, focus. Yeah, it's not going to focus. They are not at their peak right now. They were at their peak about a week or two ago. But they'll continue to bloom for probably a couple more weeks. Maybe a couple more, a few more weeks maybe. But they're just absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Then they'll die back in the winter and come back next spring, next summer. I've got more tomatoes down here. These are doing well. These catch the runoff from upstairs from the shower, the outdoor shower that he has installed up there. There is garlic planted in here. There was okra planted in here. There's one. I don't know if you can see that right. One okra right there. There were several that I planted in here. There's another one back there, I think. Nope, that one's not an okra. Anyway, a lot of my okra died back. Super disappointed in that, but it's just been that kind of year for me and for my plants. And again, planting by the seat of my pants this year, and nothing really went as well as it would have if I had been more careful. But at the same time, I'm still growing food. So that's all. I just encourage you guys, get out there, grow food, Do the things. Even if you make mistakes, it's worth it. Y'all have a great one. Happy 4th of July. Bye.